Climate change is disproportionately affecting communities in many countries, creating one of the most prominent global injustices in the world. Specifically, those who benefit from the exploitation of fossil fuels are contributing to this climate crisis without experiencing the negative effects themselves. For example, Conservation Magazine points out in an article that the top 10 emitters are responsible for over 60% of emissions that facilitate the progress of climate change. Nearly 17 countries acutely vulnerable to climate change effects in 2010 were small island nations or African countries. Consecutively, these countries contain the lowest growth domestic product, economic growth, and few resources to cope with the effects of climate change. The rising levels of atmospheric temperatures and ocean levels are the consequences that result from continually rising amounts of greenhouse gas emissions. Health risks from poor air quality, community displacement from rising sea levels, and property destruction from increased tropical storms are all immediate effects of climate change that are experienced by at-risk communities more frequently every year. As the Center for Progressive Reform highlights, in weather-triggered disasters, people and animals die. Homes, crops, and resources are destroyed. Public health infrastructure, for example hospitals and roads, are damaged. These impacts and many others threaten the health, food security, and livelihoods of poor populations across the globe, particularly those comprised of people of color. It is evident that the negative effects of climate change and the number of communities that they affect will only grow if solutions are not implemented. This places an ever-growing threat to the posterity of future generations.
One way we could combat the injustice of climate change is by slowing its progression, through increased legal regulation and responsibility for those at fault. As a direct approach, we can challenge the laws and regulations set by the U.S. government. For example, in the Juliana vs. U.S. court case, a high school student is suing the government in hopes of sparking legislative action in combating climate change. So why doesn't everyone just do this? Due to the role that voting plays in the United States' current political system in terms of distribution of power, movements that push for laws concerning increased regulation on these interest groups will face significant opposition from those groups and the politicians which value their support. As a more indirect approach, change can be influenced by increasing awareness through social media and contacting local representatives to push for legislative changes in the future. This can help gather widespread support, which can lead to increased pressure on policymakers to enact more just policies.
These alternative solutions are great, but they don't address the overarching interest of the affected population long term. The most impactful way to do that is to increase the representation of the impoverished population that is more likely to feel the direct effects of climate change. Equal representation of socioeconomic classes is better achieved, and the interest of these populations can be further addressed. This increase in the representation can be achieved ultimately through amending laws that decide the political power that these underrepresented populations currently have. Citizens can push for these legislative changes by increasing awareness about those affected through outlets such as social media and influence the legislature in a grassroots movement.
Climate change is threatening the democracy of America due to the injustices it creates. These injustices are rooted in the fact that those with power have greater political representation and experience the least amount of negative climatic effects as a result, while those with little say are vulnerable to the most devastating effects. Therefore, a just solution involves increasing representations of the individuals who are experiencing the greatest impact. Alternate solutions include increasing legal regulations on industry responsible for the greatest contributions to climate change in order to hold these industries to higher standards of accountability. Advocating for change and enforced responsibility lies at the heart of correcting the injustice that climate change evokes. As citizens, this means spreading awareness through outlets like social media and contacting your local legislators. By addressing this multidimensional injustice caused by climate change, we can ensure our progression towards a just democracy and ensure prosperity for future communities around the world.